That's Mr. Reed's lease, yeah?
Yes, it is, and Warren Cook's lease is around the same area. His family has been farming oysters since about the 1950s when Warren's father started the operation there.
Yeah, it's very different then, I guess, from what, the 1950s?
Yeah, it's definitely different. It's a lot more intense now than it was then, and also the use of different methods such as the rafting, the long lines and so on.
One of the things I'm concerned about is the intensity of the farming, and that they're trying to make Baynes Sound here the oyster capital of Canada in terms of production and the amount of shellfish that they hope to be able to farm from here.
Yeah, I think that's a significant concern. Although Baynes Sound itself can be considered from an economical point of view as a great asset, it's also a significant disturbance to the local ecosystem, so it's hard to balance those out on occasions.
One of the things they do is use a fair amount of the intertidal to grow the oysters out, so that the intertidal area becomes almost solely used for not only growing of oysters but also for clams, that they're farming clams in this region as well.
I've had property here since 1980, and during that time there's been significant changes to the local shoreline.
People don't realize that when they drive by this place, when they drive by the Sound, that this Sound is second to Fraser River Delta, is the most ecologically sensitive region along the coast. And part of the dilemma is at high tide, you don't really see the extent of what they're using that intertidal region for. And so at low tide, you see the nets, you see the Vexar, you see the fencing. At high tide, it goes underneath the water, and it's difficult to see the extent of the impact. It's an important bird area. It supports globally important populations of western grebe, Thayer's gull. About 200 species of birds have been reported sighted in this Sound, and at the same time, it's being completely used and expanding with the shellfish industry.
Yes, it is, and in fact, just south of here, where I live, which is just a few kilometres away, in the springtime, there is what is reported to be the largest concentration of eagles feeding in summertime. Almost 50% of the diet of those eagles is of the plain-fin midshipman that spawns in the intertidal area, and the males, the poor males, they come in May and they don't leave until middle of August. They provide the parental care for the young, which are sticking to the undersides of the rocks. So we have a very, very important area here for plain-fin midshipmen, which in turn provides food for other fish, but also for birds and mammals as well. The problem that we have in Baynes Sound is that with the beaches being cleared of those cobble structures, the spawning areas for those particular fish in particular have been decimated, or they've been significantly reduced. In talking to one of the oyster growers who's been here a long time, he mentioned that there's been quite a dramatic decrease in the number of birds that are around Chef Creek and Cook Creek in that area there. And also there's been a reduction in the eelgrass beds that were close to the low tide level. And that of course has an effect on the animals that use those places. And we took a starting point down here for the start of the eelgrass and walked all the way here towards the seaward side, towards Chrome Island, and this is the boundary of the lagoon.
7 minutes.
I've also seen photographs and in fact video of herring being trapped in the nets, the anti-predator nets on the shore. also been concern expressed over juvenile salmon, not just the forage fish species such as the salmon lance, but and the herring, but also the juvenile salmon, because we've had problems with rearing juvenile salmon as wild population juvenile salmon. But when they go to sea, they typically go along the shorelines. They don't spread out over Georgia Strait.
They hug the shoreline. Yeah.
They hug the shoreline. They get their nutrients from there, but also they have to have a place to hide from predators. Much of the area of Baynes Sound is under tenure to the aquaculture industry, and many of these leases are long-term leases, and on those leases the shellfish farmers provide approximately 50% of the shellfish harvested in British Columbia. The opinions that we've had, they've been expressed many times before. More than a decade ago, it was suggested there should be an overall plan for Baynes Sound, ecological studies carried out to see what the impact of the industry is, how it could progress, and what areas should be protected. And to date, that's not happened.
There's just been no management as the industry has been expanding completely unregulated. You know, no industry, if they'd come into this area and said, we want to develop 40, 60, 90% of this critical habitat for one exclusive use, they would have never been able to come in and use this sensitive, this region for that. And so it's been done backwards. What should have been done is identify where the shellfish industry could have come in within the context of it being a protected area.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, yeah. Unfortunately, we've gone past that point, haven't we? And now we have industry occupying most of the area of concern
without regard to the
other components
and the role that this sound plays.
Yes.
Yeah.
The ramifications for future use of Baynes Sound by the ecological groups that utilise this area, as well as the commercial interests, then it begs for a lot more study and a lot more understanding, because as it stands right now, there's a lot to be lost.
Yeah.
But what kind of man declares war against nature? Short-sighted vision, not thinking about the future. Sea life getting pounded on their own treasured water. What you gonna tell your sons and tell your daughters?